is it okay for the heir to the throne to be parting his head off?
Well, with us to discuss this, royal commentator and former royal photographer Ian Pelham-Turner, and author and social commentator Liz Fraser. Good to see you both. This isn't how we want to see our future king, is it?
And actually, we shouldn't be seeing that, because he was on his own, having a good time with his friends, maybe perhaps supporting a friend of his, and he's also a human being, apart from anything else. The only reason we saw that is because somebody videoed it on a phone and put it out there, and this big hoo-ha has happened. I think the bottom line is that, you know, the world has changed a little bit, and we are much more able to recognise the fact that a statesman, a modern ambassador of any, whether it's a country, a company, or a family, or anything, is also allowed to have their own life, and actually maybe it's good for him. I'm going to tell you a story now that I've never spoken about in public, but I do think it's relevant, very, very relevant to this. When I was 14, back in the late 80s, I was in the Highlands of Scotland, where my family comes from, and I was in a swimming pool, and a beautiful young girl came in and started swimming very well. And she came and sat next to me in a little bubble pool, and she had mascara all down her face, and she was chatting away, and it was Princess Diana. And I was 14, she was the most famous woman in the world at the time, I would say, arguably, and she came and sat down next to me. There was nobody else in the pool. It's a very remote place of the world. And she was chatting with me about chlorine in the pool, and we had this lovely natter, and what I got from that, apart from thinking, oh my God, it's Princess Diana talking to me in a pool, she just wanted to be normal. She just wanted to be able to have a normal connection. And we know about her mental health issues after that. I had bulimia for 15 years, just after I met her, actually, not connected, obviously. But I really am incredibly sensitive and incredibly aware of the importance for humans to be who you are, as well as having your public life. And, you know, that whole crushing of what was required in her life was so well documented as being incredibly bad for her. William, as her son, will be more aware of that than anybody. He will want not only for himself, but this beautiful protection that he has over Kate, which is so visible, and for his children, to want to make sure that he balances that. And I think that we, as a country, as a society, actually really owe it to him in a way, to allow him to have that, you know, what perhaps his mother didn't have, to be the person that he is. And he is a great statesman, I think, for modern Europe, for young Europe. And I think he dances very well, actually. I think he has rhythm.
I quite like
I think he's dancing well.
Ian, I mean, is there a fair point?
Type of thing. I think there's a lot more to this, you know, to actually support a friend who's just gone through troubled times. And that is typical William.
Exactly. He seems like a really well-balanced young man. I imagine they're at home just laughing this off and whatever, you know, so of course that would happen. But it's really important that we do allow them, I think, to evolve a little bit. This isn't the 19th century. We do understand that you're allowed to have a life, and it is good for you.
If they're seen all the time, the problem is then, across the world, they lose that intrinsic visual value as well, and I think they have to be careful.
Or maybe we're just in a time where actually your brand and your image is much more than only your professional, you know, that in fact it adds value to them to be seen as people, to be young, functioning people in a normal way with friends and family, and when they are on call all the time, they are on duty all the time. I think it's fantastic to see. We've had a tiny little glimpse. I'd rather not have seen it, because I'd rather he could have a really private life, but to be able to see that these people, you know, of course he can go out dancing, and we all look a bit stupid.
Deborah Day's just tweeted 20 seconds ago, the person who's forwarded this video of him should be arrested, leave him alone. Well, the person will not have done anything illegal, but as you say, it's an insight which we shouldn't have had.
Yeah. And we you know, you see people coming through doors with the flashing lights, and, you know, I will go back to Diana again. You know, she was head down, onto her hat, under her hair. The pressure of that was absolutely unbearable. He was born into this role. He didn't choose this role. And we as a society actually do, I think we do have a responsibility to look after people like that and make sure we treat them well. I run a mental health website called Headcase, and I'm very, very fascinated by the pressure that young people are under with social media and all of this. They can't get away from it. He does a lot of work, both of them. Of course, we know that they represent mental health, you know, campaigns and stuff very openly and publicly. There's a very good reason, I suspect, why he particularly does. I think it's wonderful, and I think far from devaluing brand Britain and the royal family, I think it adds a huge extra side to them, and for young people in our country, I think that's great.
I think my timeline and Stephen's timeline would agree with you on that one.